Do you remember that streaker who was arrested at the Jumbo Shrimp game in April? Well, he will get a second chance at making better life choices. First Coast News has learned the 2 felony lewd and lascivious conduct charges were dropped against Dante Kunze this week. Those charges could have carried a punishment of up to 15 years in prison and a lifetime on the sex offender registry. He ran naked across the outfield on a dare at the second game of the season. When he was unable to scale the outfield fence, he sprinted to the family fun zone where he was tackled by a fan attending with 2 daughters. His attorney, Susan Cohen, spoke exclusively to First Coast News and says he is remorseful and that he learned a hard lesson.
He was, as you can imagine, very frightened by that. And like I said, he's taken this whole matter very seriously and is extremely apologetic about his behavior.
The 20-year-old still faces a single misdemeanor for disorderly conduct.